live, and let's see what happens. Um, we are. Yeah, it looks like we're still live here. So what I got going on here is I got the 7 string, the Jackson 7 string, running through that white pedal over there. That's the Electro-Harmonic Smell 9. It's a stereo output. One signal is dry, the other is wet. The dry signal I have going into the Digitech RP360 XP. The wet signal I've got going into the Zoom G2X4. And each one of those outputs I got going into the stereo input of the Boss RC5 looper, and the outputs are going stereo into the Roland KC110. And I had already started creating a loop in here, so we're gonna go ahead and there we go right there. And I'm gonna play over that. You might not be able to see it. Oh, you'll see it. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna actually do something here. There. So you can see me doing a little bit of function here. Okay, just a little bit of demo there. And you're true Rockin Dave, the real deal. North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. I hope we are still alive, my friends. I don't know what's going on with this. You know, it could be this phone too. So, what, next week, week after next, yeah, we're going to Verizon. We gotta get new phones, update our phones. Anyhow, I'm gonna give you a little update on everything that's going on, a little recap of the gigs. And yesterday, it was a last minute thing. We had a guy wanted to come out with his daughter for guitar lessons. And it was his birthday. So happy birthday to you, my friend. His name is Sean, and too bad his birthday wasn't today. So anyway, if you're celebrating happy birthday today, happy birthday because we got the fifth month, the 25th day of the fifth month, and it's 2025. So we got 5, 25, 25. And if you turn in 25 today, that's even an extra bonus. So kudos to you, my friends out there. Okay. So I got this. Let me just start with this little setup here. I got this idea uh, doing this from my student Doug. He's the guy with the harp guitar, and since you could do a lot of stuff in the lower register with a harp guitar, what I did with this, and I knew you could do this with 7 string guitars. It's nothing new. What I did is one of the songs I played with him was one of his originals. It was based off of playing an A minor and a D minor. Here, let me turn off the Mel 9. And then his D minor would be up in the first position. Now, because of the bass strings he was plucking on his harp guitar, actually, this is what I'm going to do with this. I am going to call for this. I tuned my 7 string down to A and my regular low E string down to D to mimic the 2 bass strings on his harp guitar. So when he would play the A minor, I would hit my low A. And let's see if I get this one again. And then the D. And it's a little bit different, his rhythms is slightly different because it's one of his songs. But I just thought, well, that sounds pretty cool. And when I did that, I plugged straight right into the the Roland KC110, KC110, with a little bit of reverb. I didn't use any effects, and I put the pickup selector switch in the middle. And this guitar just had a beautiful tone right along with his harp guitar. I was amazed, and he was amazed too. It was like, wow, that guitar sounds great, blending with this. So I started checking out some videos of the classical 10-string guitars. And I'm not talking like a 10-string, like a 12-string, how the strings are double. I'm talking about extended range where you have 4 extra bass notes. And they sound absolutely beautiful. And then I stumbled on 8-string. And I knew about these guitars way back in Illinois. But I'm revisiting some of these ideas. And I was checking out a couple of videos on a company called Ortega Guitars, 8-string classical guitars, and whoa, do they sound beautiful. It almost sounds like they're an 8-string baritone guitar because the neck is extra wide, or extra long. The scale range length is extra long, and it's not fan fretted, but no big deal. It sounded great. And then I saw a video of Agile guitars, which one of my former students back in Illinois, his name is Augie, he bought an Agile 8-string electric guitar, a non-fan fretted one, and it was electric, solid body. But these videos I saw were on fan fretted 8-string acoustic guitars. First, I seen one with the nylon string, which I'm more partial to, and it sounded great. And then they have another model called the Renaissance, which is a steel string guitar. They have them in the Renaissance model in 6 strings, but they also have them in 8-string. And I'm like, wow, that sounded great. A couple of demos, I'm like, it sounded great. And I got thinking, well, the thing with the nylon string, for some reason, the Mel 9 doesn't work too well with the nylon string. And even sometimes the SY1 synth pedal doesn't work too well. So, but the steel strings, yeah, no problem. And I thought, well, why don't I bring out my 7 strings, since I left the tuning to a drop D on a low E and a drop A on my 7 on my B string, and let me see what I could come up with. And this is basic what I was coming up with. Now, the cool thing with this, I started thinking this out before I plugged in, and I thought, well, wait a minute.
I could use the Mel 9 with the electric guitar because it's steel strings. And then when I bust out the pedal, I'm looking at the outputs. I thought, okay, this is cool because I could plug the 7 string directly into the Mel 9, and just like you see it, the dry output comes into the input of the Digitech, and the output of the Digitech goes into input A on the RC5 loops station pedal. The wet signal out of the Mel 9 is going into the input of the Zoom G2X4, and that output is going into the input B on the RC5 pedal. So, in essence, what I got going on here, for instance, how I got this set up. If I take this pedal down, I have what would be my electric guitar setting with a phase shifter. It's a Fender Fender amp sound. When I bring this in on this setting, on the Digitech, I have it set for acoustic simulator with a flanger. So if I bring out my Zoom pedal, now it's just the Digitech. Now, if I wanted to, I could hit my Mel 9, and instead of a drive signal coming out of there, now it's going to be the synth. And I can fade that in with the strings. Now, if I don't like that blend, let's say I want to turn off my phase shifter. Now, if I still don't like the tone of that, I can get out of that, go to my next patch, which is set for my acoustic patch here. And I think I do have the phase shifter off, okay? To smooth out a little bit on the effect on the Mel 9. And then what you hear in the guitar sound is coming out of the Digitech. Now if I just want strings, I could just back down on my volume pedal. Now what's really cool with this, if I want to add bass to this, I just hit my switch up. Now a patch called Play Your Bass. If I make melodies or if I want to back down and fade out the Mel 9 and just have the bass, I could do it. Or I could turn off the Mel 9. And have unison guitar and bass. Now if I want a phase shifter, this is a patch that's set for acoustic guitar on the Zoom. This could get confusing, but you just have to play along with it, play with it a little bit. So if I want to go to what would be my Fender sound, and I don't want a phase shifter on, go okay. So now I'm going to have Fender clean guitar with bass. Add a phase shifter. Now what's really cool with this, I can bring this down, and then I got my acoustic setting. Here I've got my whammy setting, which is what I was doing earlier. next one, I have it set for like a phase shifter where I could change the rate with the pedal. If I want to blend the dry guitar, or better yet, if I want to blend in the Mel 9, I could do that. And the cool thing with that is I got on, let's see, on this patch, which I have it set for to do bass drums, I'm going to call up the bass. Now here I'm just have dry guitar. Which is basically what I did into the intro. Now, the Zoom will have its internal looper per channel, how you can program it. Now, in this case, it won't pick up what I got the Digitech. So if I want to add the bass, it won't pick that up through there. It'll only pick it up there because I'm bypassing the output from the Digitech, bypassing the Zoom, going directly into the Boss RC5 looper. But what's really cool with this, I can get creative and I could loop a rhythm here and let that loop go if I need to change any parameters so I have no dead spots. Everything takes time when you're working with all this stuff. It takes time to just mess with it. And I thought this is pretty cool. So I might incorporate this in one of my pedal boards and have that set for my 7-string. Because it is kind of unique. I'm getting more and more creative ideas with this. You know, I'll get ideas and I'll shelve them for a while because I got these other gigs I'm doing. So, you know, I'm kind of like readjusting things as I'm going. But it is nice having this and being able to do that. Now, if I want to add the Mel 9 through here, take the bass up. And it's going through the phase shifter. What I would have to do is this, is make sure that it's set. Now it's constantly looping that. Now, if I want to layer this down, it's going to loop this. Now, what's really cool here, since there's no set rhythm, I could add a rhythm here. Or, I got my rhythm set here, I could do that here.
little different. Don't even know we're just writing off of A. I got my bass. Let's say I don't like that pitch. I don't like that. Back to the
Not bad, huh? I'm gonna go ahead and save that on the loop pedal, and then I could always put it in my little task cam. So, kind of a really cool little setup. The more I mess with it, the more I get the creative ideas, and that's just how you have to work with things. Just be creative. That's all. And that's what I was telling my students yesterday. You know, never underestimate your creative ideas that you get, because and if you can record them, record them. My other student Doug with the harp guitar, he tries to record everything he does. I said, do that, because it's gonna be those moments that you're gonna get these ideas that are gonna really resonate with you, and you're gonna like, man, I wish I would have captured that. So I said, by all means, go ahead and record that. So now let me go ahead and recap them on the gig. So we had our 2-day gig. Well, we're actually up in Orlando. We left Wednesday morning to go there because we had to play Wednesday evening, and then we played Thursday evening, and we came back. Let's see if I could go ahead and turn the camera, the phone, over to me without causing chaotic problem. Okay, my friends, we'll see what's going on here. Are we getting thunder? Yeah, I think we're starting to get thunder here. Ta-da! There I am in the kind of like shadowy there. But we will be getting new phones, so this is not going to be too much longer with this. Thank God. See all the cards, the gift cards I get from all my students? They're great kids, man. So, let me go ahead and recap the gig. It was actually a 4-star hotel called the Caribbean Royale in Orlando, Florida. And it's a team of lawyers. They have these retreats, and every 2 years they do this. And they pick different parts of the state. Actually, they'll pick different parts of the country. But and that's why I think they come to Florida every 2 years. And when they do, they always look me up. And I'm so appreciative and so honored, and they're such great people. They put us up for the room for 2 nights, because we did like I said, we were there Wednesday, and we did our gig Wednesday evening, then Thursday evening. We were in 2 different locations, and then of course Friday, coming back home on Friday. And looked up the pricing without going through Trivago and all these other, Expedia. I think their pricing was like $222 per night. So it was like over, I think it was 100 lawyers there, plus us. So you time that plus us, and let's say there's no break, and you times that by 2 nights, you're almost at 45 grand. And that's just for the hotel, because they also had 2 days at the convention hall for their event. So that's got to be rented out. Now, hopefully they get a discount, which is kind of normal. If you're doing a big event like that, then they'll give you a discount. They usually do. I mean, I don't know. I didn't ask any question, but usually it's like that. But it's a lot, and they paid us very well. And with all that expense, they still paid us very well. So when I get these questions, how do you get these gigs? Well, part of it I get them is because of the style of music I'm playing. They're very specific. Yeah, they'll let you do some covers and popular songs and that, but they want to lean more toward the elegance. So obviously I'm gonna do more of the jazzier stuff and the classical stuff. Before we went live, I was playing more classical guitar pieces both nights in the dining room, and then I did bring my Zoom camera, but I didn't get it. I got some highlights because I don't have much time on the SD card, so I just got a few highlights on that. But I did do more classical guitar pieces, which I'm going to be incorporating again, getting back into the classical guitar world as well, because I just miss it, man. There's just something about that style of music. It just draws me in. I really do like it. Okay, so with that being said, so these particular functions we do, they lean toward the elegance. Now, I'm not saying there's not corporate gigs that does not lean toward the rock-oriented world, or the blues, or the dance parties as well. You know, with the electronic EDM, the electronic dance music, they are all out there. It's just what people want to have, what their particular need is. But I will say this, and I'm saying this judging by the people I've heard them in conversation when I have conversations with them. The reason that they'll go the route for picking something more jazz oriented or more instrumental oriented or classical guitar oriented, they don't get a chance to hear that all the time. And you know, some of the people they'll still go out. They're young enough to go out and hang out at the bar, and they hear the cover bands. And there's nothing wrong with the cover bands. Don't get me wrong. But I've heard people say that, well, everyone's doing the same thing, so there's nothing unique there. And that is the problem for that type of a gig. That's why some of the cover bands don't get those gigs. And I'm not saying they'll never get them, but I'm saying there are times they won't, and that is because of the reason based on my conversations with some of these people, because they'll say, you sound different, we like the way you sound, you don't sound like everybody else. I remember one time a guy told me, he says, if everyone's sounding the same, where's the value? You know, and I understand where they're coming from there. And they're not trying to put cover bands down or anything like pop music. They're not trying to put it down, but they're looking for something very specific. So that's why we'll get those gigs. But it does not mean they will not hire a cover band or a rock band or a pop band or what. So in that situation, the other spectrum, the other side of this is the reason why we'll get those gigs is it's how you conduct yourself, because they have a lot that's going on. The last thing they need to do is to deal with people that are difficult to work with. They don't, you know, it's a function for them. You're just one of the many vendors that they hire to enhance their event. So my advice to people out there doing these, God, Deb and I've been doing these for like over 25 years now. We started doing this before we got married. And yeah, I was still playing in the metal bands, but when she saw I could do all the classical and the flamenco stuff, and then she asked me, how come you're not playing this style of music? I said, I don't have anyone helping me. And she said, well, I'll help you. And boy, when she started getting involved, man, like, wow, I was getting these gigs, and I was getting some very high-end gigs that I never thought. I knew that they existed. I just didn't know on how to contact these people. So what we did was, right from the get-go, she said, like, you concentrate on doing the music, I'll concentrate on getting these type of gigs. And it worked out. It worked out great. But to do any type of a high-end gig, it's more than just being good at your craft. You definitely have to be good at your craft, no matter what it is you're doing. You have to be good at your craft. But equally, you got to be a likable person. You got to be easy to work with. And even if there's someone that's going to give you an insult, you take it with a grain of salt, because these type of gigs are not the bar gigs. And what you say and do could, man, come back and really, really, could really put you in a bad situation where you won't ever get those gigs again. Because these people, they talk. And that's just how that works. So, but it is such an honor doing these gigs. Now, I apologize. The way this set, I'm not seeing. Oh, there's our comments. Oh my God, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate this. Now it's a little bit foggy here, so look at John Dawson. What's happening, brother? Lisa, how are you, dear? Thank you for tuning in. Guitar Talk. What's happening, brother? Ah, is it Quentin James? Oh my God, Quentin, is that you? I hope all is well with you, my man. You've always been a great dude. You know that? I love the videos with you clowning around too, man. Very entertaining, which is what we need, man. So it's been working out really good. And like I said, we did the 2-day gigs there. She thanked us, and she said everyone had a great time, and yeah, we'd had a lot of people coming up and say, "Wow, tell her where'd you find this guy? This is fantastic," because it did not impede on them still having their conversation. There's another thing. These type of gigs, yeah, you could play your heart out, but you got to understand they're still having their conversation. So, you know what I mean? Let's see. Hey, Mrs. Mrs. Hi, how are you, dear? Thank you so much for buying the painting when you came out to our art gig. I appreciate it so much. And coming out to the shows. We got to return the favor for you. See, over the summer, we get some time to check out Danny's. We call it Danny's Pub. That's over there in Fort Myers. We used to host an open mic at a Danny's Pub in Naperville, Illinois, and at a place called Uncle Harry's Ice Cream Shop. And you would have live music there. It was in Edison, Illinois. Yeah. Going to go to, okay, yeah. Oh, cruises tonight for the karaoke. Good for you. Yeah, we're starting to get our yard prepared. We're going to be putting these palm trees in pretty soon. We're looking at them. We got some neighbors. But yeah, we got some things we're doing around the house. And next week is the last full week of school. And then after that, we got 2 gigs next week. Saturday and Sunday. And listen to this. Saturday's gig, the end of May, is at Miramar Outlets in front of Ford's Garage. Sunday's gig, June 1st, Miramar Outlet in front of Ford's Garage. So we're at the same place, back to back, which is cool. So I'm going to mix things up a little bit. And then our next gig with Ray is going to be July 18th, back over at Poolside Pub at Del Toro. And I've reached out a few other places, and I have not heard back from them yet. But they did tell me that they're kind of watching for the summer, and they might be booking, they might not be booking. They're gonna let me know, because the word is we're supposed to have another active hurricane season. Now, usually that doesn't hit us till like September or October. So you think, well, what about the summer? It should be okay. Well, part of what's going on is these people, they're not saying it, but, and I can't blame them, but I'm taking an educated guess. They're watching what they're spending over the summer. So if something should happen, they're going to have that extra money in case they have problems with the insurance companies. Because, boy, I tell you what, some of these hurricanes did a lot of damage to these places, and these people are, even though they got insurance, they're pulling money out of their own pockets, and it's like, oh man. So we'll see what's going on with that. But we are got some more songs with Ray and that. But see, it's a different style of music. So a question pops up: how am I able to go from style to style to style? My advice, what works for me, see if this works for you guys out there, is I listen to different styles of music, especially when those gigs are coming up. If those are the next gigs coming up, then I'll just absorb my mind with that particular style of music that I'm going to play for that gig. And then this way, my whole body rhythm, my whole mind is set to it. Because the world of classical guitar is so far removed from Tom Petty. The rhythms are different. The approach to playing is different. So you see what I mean? So what I'll do is I'll have different like listening sessions, and then to get my technique up to par and speeding up and all that, I'll listen to some metal because of the rhythms, double bass there, and do my picking exercises. And then I'll lay low and then listen to typing some classical guitar pieces. And then all the points in between. And it works for me. Part of what you do is what you're thinking about and how you approach your body rhythm, because you might not be aware of it, but everyone's got an internal body internal body rhythm. And I started becoming aware of this at a very, very young age. Before I even started to play, I just didn't know what it was. It's something as basic as you rocking out to something, you're moving to something, you're creating a body rhythm. I remember I had someone ask me, "Wow, when people they're playing, they're kind of moving around and that." Well, part of what they're getting into the music, but part of that is if you can hear that beat, they're moving to that beat. So it's a way to have your internal clock on, so that you can catch all these different cues that you have to do when you're playing with a full band. And sometimes when you're playing on whether it's a big stage or not, stage volume with live drums is very loud. And those cymbals wash a lot of things away, man. You'll hear the bass, but you'll hear those cymbals, man, right in your ear, and it's like, oh boy, okay. So it's different than what you hear out sitting out in the audience. So that's one way of people keeping their timing by, moving to the rhythm. But what I mean is, going back to what I'm saying with the internal body rhythm, when I would do my practice exercises and I do all my scales up and down the fretboard and my four finger exercise up, I do it while I have my metronome set so I can hear my metronome, but then I'd be having my fusion albums on. And then while I'm practicing, I can hear all these notes right in the fretboard. I'm like, okay, there's that, there's this, that. And then I started catching up on the rhythms. So there were times I would turn the metronome off and I would play my scales to the beat, against the rhythm. And then another good thing to do, people will disagree, but it worked for me. Usually get together with a drummer. But if you can't get together with a drummer, buy yourself a drum machine. Because usually with drum machines, you're going to have all these different styles pre-programmed in. And it is a good way to get the feel of that rhythm. It's another way. It's not the only way. I think one of the best ways is to listen to that style of music that you're trying to mimic. That really helps. When I got into I heavily got into the fusion music, man, I absorbed my whole listening habit into it. I was able to catch up on those rhythms, and my friends that were Latino, they were like, "Man, how could you play all these Latin rhythms as if you were Latin?" And I said, "Well, I'm not." I said, "But what I did is I absorbed my mind and I practiced to these rhythms. And when you're practicing to them and listening to them over and over again, it, for me it worked. It became a part of my rhythms. To the point I didn't need to listen to them. I was just able to do them in my own way, because I always wanted to have my own way. I think it's really good when you learn. We all have our influences, but there comes a point where you have to break away from that and really start to focus on you. And it is not an egotistical thing to say. It happens to be a fact, because you, and at least this worked for me. What helped me develop me was I listened to the people in influence, but when I do my practice, I would develop my own way. I would change things around. If I was learning a guitar solo, I would purposely change it around. I'm gonna be honest, guys. When I was learning guitar solos by ear, it was pretty tough, because what would start to happen to me, I'd make these mistakes, but I would make the mistake, hit the wrong note. That was not what the guy was playing, but that particular wrong note happened to fit the chord progression. So for me, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I could use this note. And then it started to develop and develop and develop. When I do the guitar solo to the Journey song, Who's Crying Now, and I listen to the original, I'm not doing it exact. It's real similar, but it's not exact. And I'm glad I'm not doing it exact, because I don't want to lose my sense of creativity, which I don't think I ever will, but it's just something that I like to do more, is to be more creative than copy. But having that internal rhythm clock play, it's been very, very helpful. And over the years, as that develops, you get better and better at it, and you start getting noticed. And that's when people start to say, hey man, you want to join my band, or hey, I got this gig, you want to do this, or things of that nature. I'm not saying it'll happen all the time, and what I do might not always be popular at the bars, although I still get those type of gigs. Restaurant, mostly restaurant with bars. But if it's something that no, we're looking for more of a pop music scene, then that's okay. I'm just not gonna solicit it because it's not my thing. And here's another thing to consider. You don't have to try to chase every single gig that's out there unless you want to. But if you're very specific on what you want to do, then by all means, shoot for that. You will get work. And there's nothing wrong with not taking every single gig out there. To me, it could be kind of a waste because, okay, in my situation, if I do too many if I do too many of the wild bar scene, which I really don't, but let's say I do too many of those, then the people that hire me, and if I'm putting up those videos, they might think twice of hiring me because they think that that's how I am. And it might not sound like a fair thing, but when you think about it, it really is. It's likewise, okay, there was a couple places we solicited that we found out they're going to be more of a biker bar, and they saw me doing the jazzy stuff, and like, okay, no, it's not a good fit. Although I can play rock music, in their mind, all I do is jazz and soft stuff. Okay, now I could definitely put a lot more effort and say, hey, look, check out this video, and here I will put up videos specifically for your place to convince you that hey, I can do these things and I can do them very authentically because I do like playing that stuff. But if it's going to be more work than what it's worth, and I'm happy doing what I'm doing, then I'll just bypass. Okay, that's someone else. There's another band that's their thing. They only play rock music, so give them a chance. It doesn't bother me. And I know some people will say, yeah, but the idea of a working musician is to get all the gigs. You have to like what you're doing. You have to be happy with what you're doing. I ran into so many people when we be done with our gig. We're tearing down, and here comes the guy playing behind me. And a few times at a particular place we were playing at, the guy said, yeah, another gig, another gig. I'm like, dude, you look like you don't even want to be here, man. Why bother? Yeah, but I could use the money. And if it's a money thing, hey, I understand. For some people, it's better than working a day job, and that's cool. But not everybody is like that. So if you fall in that category where you're more of the type of person that likes a quiet afternoon or a quiet evening, you don't want to go out. You don't want to go out into the wild side, but yet you want to go out and gig. Well, then look for the gigs that are not on the wild side. And there might not be a whole lot of them, but you'll still be able to play. And if you're retired, you got retirement money coming in. Or if you're still working, you got that money coming in. Or you got a business somehow, you got other streams of income coming in. You'll do all right, man. You'll do all right. I think what happens, people emphasize, and I was the same when I was younger. I was the same way. Get as many gigs as you possibly can. Do this, do that. But after a while, when you do them, and it's like, okay, I've been there, done that. Now what's next? And then you start realizing, I kind of like doing this. Maybe I won't get so much of it, but I like what I'm doing, as opposed to feel like I gotta wear myself out, chasing all these people for this, that, and the other. Especially if you've already done that. And it's not you're wearing out and you're giving up or anything like that. No, it's just that you are making a decision what works for you. Here's another thing I want to talk about, and I just saw this video pop up today. I don't know if it was posted how many days ago it was, and it was something to the effect, and it's kind of on the same lines if you get burnt out on something, or you've done that, you're ready for the next thing. So this guy had this video of something the title was something to the effect of the slow death of the YouTube guitar channels or something like that, and why some of these people are starting to fade away or becoming a little bit more irrelevant. They're losing views. He made a real interesting point. Two interesting points he made. One is you're getting more and more people are content creators. So the people that used to watch the videos now they're not because now they're creating videos. So you see, there's only 24 hours in a day, and they might have other things they're doing too. Another aspect of it is how many times could you see a comparison video? Now I'm going to put some comparison videos on some of these pedals I'm using, but I'm not expecting a whole lot. It'll be there for people who want to see them for these particular pedals. I'm not expecting 1,000,000 views. If I get them, that's fine. If not, no big deal. They will always be there. So when people want to make a purchase, or they want to say, geez, I had that pedal, I wonder how it sounds compared to that, then there it is. But overall, I think what his point was, this guy's point was that people are starting to get burned out. It's like it's not new anymore. And then with the situation with, other platforms popping up, and I think he did this comparison, or maybe someone else did the comparison. Maybe he did the comparison, how TikTok is, man, it's catching up with YouTube on a pretty rapid pace there. Now, some people had quit YouTube because they felt they were not getting a fair shot. They felt like, man, what's the point? I mean, putting all this time in, and I don't think my content's that bad. So why isn't people watching? Is the algorithm being biased against me? Well, some people say, okay, well then, you know what? I'll find somewhere else to go. They're not going to fight it. Oh, you should fight it. You should know. Do what's best for you. Because you see, now with all these different opportunities, YouTube's not the only game in town. It's still a good game, though. I still like watching. At nighttime, we put on the CBS Radio Mystery Theater with E.G. Marshall. That came out in 1974. And it ran through, I think, 1982. And it's more of a podcast because it's radio stories. So we'll listen to that. Yeah, and then sometimes I'll watch some art videos, but a lot of times I'm just too busy going over music to really watch every. And I feel bad because I do want to support as many people as I can because they've been good to me. But I understand when they're busy too. They can't. You're not going to have time to watch everything. So, getting back to this guy's video of what's going on with the guitar community, why it seems there's a lot of decreases in views. Well, that's part of it. Some of the other part is how some of these people would try to come across as, if you don't do this, you're not going to make it, or try to make people feel like they're insignificant, and that's a bad situation to do. That's a bad thing to do to people, man, because then you'll definitely lose, And then I think what happens is when people put themselves in that position that they're relying on it, and they start losing these views, boy, they hit that red. It's a big red button, panic button. They hit, and the panic is on. When you don't rely on any of this, then you don't have to worry. But if you're relying on it, don't piss people off. All right, my friends. So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to share that topic since it's the 5th month, the 25th day of the 5th month in the year 2025. How about that? Mm-hmm. Oh, I want at our art gig, which again I want to thank Mrs. High for supporting one of our paintings. I really appreciate that. Such a great lady, such a great voice she has too. Mrs. High, unbelievable, man, unbelievable. Just like, wow, this girl could go out there and gig easily. She's got a great personality. She's got a great voice. Hopefully,
if that's what you do when you go out to these open mics, you're prepping yourself, which is a great idea. Excuse me, I'm burping up coffee here. It's a great idea because you start building up clientele, and she's got a nice size following on her YouTube channel. Very, very happy for you. Great, great way to do it. And then, if you are looking to save up and buying yourself a nice, inexpensive PA system, that's going to work. Trust me. I mean, we'll buy good stuff. We like it because we have the money. We could do that, but we built up to it. If something were to happen, we had to use the cheaper stuff. Some of these pedals I'm using are not that expensive. They work. If it works, boom, you're good to go. Because you could have the best system out there in the world, and if you don't have a good voice, it's not going to help. Oh, real quick. Another video, I didn't watch the video, but the guy was saying something about why the pros use Boss pedals, okay? Well, not all of them sound good, but a lot of them do. But they are reliable. Plus, one thing I know with Boss, or now with the Helix, or any product, like let's say the Dario strings and Ernie Ball strings, when you are a traveling musician, and in this respect, thank God that the guitar centers are still out there in these different parts of the state, the country. When you are traveling, and if something goes wrong, chances are, if you are using a popular brand that's been around for a while, they're going to have it in stock. Not all the time, but they're going to have it in stock. I know you could order things online and have it sent to you, but when you are traveling, you are not always in that same location. And I had to go through this one time. At the time, I had to get a compressor pedal, and right across the street from where we were playing at, there was a music store, and they had a Boss compressor, and then they had a DoD compressor. I brought the DoD compressor because it was cheaper and it was easier to work. I'm not saying the Boss compressor wasn't easy to work. It was, but it just very, very simple. Three knobs, boom, good to go. And like I said, I didn't want to spend that much money, and it was right there, boom, right across the street. Walk back, boom, there's my compressor, and I need it, boom, the gig went on. The boutique pedals, as great as they are, if there's a company that's not carrying them, and you got that specific sound, my suggestion is buy a couple, so if something breaks, you have the backup system, immediately backup system, because you got to think about this. When you're traveling, that's what you got to think about. And no matter whether you like Guitar Center or don't like Guitar Center, or even if there's not a Guitar Center, usually the mom and pop shops will have Boss pedals because they're popular. When they've been around for so long, they're going to have them in stock, and you should be good to go. And people will find out. As soon as they start hitting the road, they're going to find out. So, okay. So now I got that out of the way. Let's see. There was something else I was going to say, and I got kind of sidetracked with the Boss video. But that I'll leave a comment on that guy's channel. That's one of the reasons why the pros will use them, because you're traveling, if you're a touring musician especially, and something happens, time is money, and you don't have that much time, the show goes on, you need it right then and there, boom, and there it is. But yeah, but I don't understand, I have this certain pedal by this company that, they're barely hanging on, and it's kind of, I gotta go through this channel. You see, you don't have time for that. But it's very specific. I'm very particular. There's nothing wrong with being particular. If that's the case, then buy 2 or 3 of those particular pedals, guitars, amps, strings. Then make sure you have them in stock, because it's when you go out there, that's when you're going to find out. And there's nothing worse than something crapping out and you don't have a backup system, and you got so used to one thing. This happened with me. But see, thank God I went between Boss and Digitech. So when Digitech started, disappearing,
I went right back with the Boss, and then also with the Zoom, but mostly the Boss and the Digitech. Because I know one or the other was going to be there. So, but just something to think about, guys. Anyways, we will be doing our gig again, like I said, Saturday and Sunday. I don't know why I keep saying Friday. Saturday and Sunday. I think it's going to be the same times we're there. I have to check the calendar, but it's definitely going to be the same location, unless at the last minute they change. Here's another thing. Sometimes it's the last minute these things pop up, like with the lessons yesterday. Boom. Yesterday morning we got the message, or maybe they sent the message Friday night. We got it early Saturday. We had to reschedule a day for the lessons. Oh, speaking of lessons. Okay, now I know what I wanted to say. I'm gonna show at our art gig. There was a mom with her daughter. Daughter plays guitar. The mom sounds like she plays a little bit too. And I looked at my guitar. She asked if I taught. We gave them the information and that. But the one thing I if they call, fine. If not, it doesn't matter if they take lessons from me or somebody else, as long as she gets where she wants to go. That's the main thing. But I told the girl, the daughter, and the mom too, if you want to learn how to change chords, the best way to do it is very slowly and accurately. The D. Oh, here, I gotta get another guitar. Let me get it. Let me get the acoustic out. I think. Let me get the classical guitar out. This is the best way to understand controlling chord changes and chord forms. It's one of the best ways. If there's another way, use whatever works for you. Okay. Now, so 3 chords I showed her because they're actually different shapes. One was a D chord. One was a C chord. One was a G chord. So let's see if I could. I'm gonna so you can see what my hands are doing. So I told her, and this is for anyone out there. This is one way of doing it. Strum the chord. Count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go to your next chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go to your next chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back to your D. When you're getting better, feeling you're getting better at it, then count 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. When you get better, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then 1, 1, 1. Another way of doing this is placing your hands over on top of the strings and do not press down. Don't even strum. Look at where your fingers are at and hold them there. If you want to count to 4, go ahead. Then change. Do the exact same thing for the next. Count to 4 if you want. Then again to your next chord. Count to 4. But make sure you're putting your fingers on the strings, because one thing that does happen is you play the chord, you got pressure, then you could change to the next chord, and in the middle of changing, the back of your mind's telling you now, make sure when you play that chord, it's going to be solid, so you got to put pressure. And then what happens is you start cramping your fingers up in midway, and then they go to different strings because you're thinking of too much, as opposed to just putting your finger on the exact same strings that you need, and then applying the pressure, and then applying the pressure. If you could do that without trying to think of 2 things at the same time, go for it. If you have a problem with it, then Try another method. Everyone's different. When I told her this, her eyes lit up. She said, "Oh my God, I understand now, so that I can make my chords change quicker." Because she also likes to sing, and that's a different thing. Here's something. When I was teaching over at the Apollo School of Music in Aurora, I had a student that she'd take guitar lessons from me, and then she'd take vocal lessons from Lisa, who was a vocal instructor, and she had her guitar there. But she would ask me, she goes, Dave, I have a little bit of a problem because I'm trying to sing and I'm playing the chords and I'm trying to sing, but I keep messing up the chords. Or if I concentrate on the chord shifting, then I'm messing up with the words. And I said, well, I don't sing, nor do you want to hear me sing. I said, but what the issue is, it's more of the coordination than it is you singing in pitch. Maybe when you combine the two, you're falling off a little bit, but it's not the actual pitch, because I asked her, if you're not playing, do you find yourself singing in pitch? She said, oh yeah, I could do that. So it's not the pitch. I said, what it is, it's the coordination. So I said, try this. I said, I could be wrong. And ask Lisa about this too, because she's a vocal instructor, not me. I said, but try this. When you're strumming, don't sing the words. Think about the words. And if you want, move your mouth to the melody of the words. See, now I messed up right there. See, I started to change the chord to my motion in my mouth. I said, so see if that could help, because what it is, you're playing one thing, your mouth is doing another thing, and while you're singing, you're also being a little bit putting attention to the voice, because the voice needs to be dominant over the instrument. And lyrics will have timing. And at first she goes, well, I don't know if I understand that. I said, well, just try it. I said, here. I said, I'm going to show you an example of, for the sake of the time, and it's right there, is what popped in my mind. So I said, here's an example. I said, you heard Stairway to Heaven. Oh yeah, that's a great song. Okay. I said, I'm going to play the outro after the guitar solo. Here's the rhythm. If you're going to strum the rhythm. Right? That's the rhythm. But here is the melody and the rhythm of the melody, the vocal melody. It's a little different than. So you see what I mean? There's two different rhythms going on, and that was the problem she was having. Learning how to split and how to split her mind and get efficient with playing the strum pattern, whatever the song she's playing, and at the same time, her vocal melody rhythm. And when I did that, when I showed her that example, she seemed to understand what I was talking about. And she said, "Okay, I think now that makes sense. I could hear it." I said, "So that's what's going on." I said, "But again, check with your instructor." And then after she left, and at the end of the day, I was talking with Lisa about it, and Lisa said, "I never really thought about that." I says, "I just happened to think about it right then and there, because as she's telling me this, she's kind of demonstrating it, and I'm looking at her, and I'm seeing her mouth is doing this, but her hands are doing that, and it's two different worlds." So some people can split their mind quick, some people can't. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. It just means maybe you have to work that harder. Or another thing is, if a person wants to sing, and let's say they can't even find a duo to play with. With today's technology, whether you use backing tracks, or let's say you say, I don't want to use backing tracks, but I know the rhythm of the song, I'm going to create the rhythm and do a loop. I would suggest this. Do the loop at home and lock it in, and make sure your guitar is always tuned to that. So this way you don't have to think about stomping on things. That's another thing. Instead of two things to think about, now you got three. So if you could do that at home, that's perfect. But do your rhythm, and now let's say you have to sing, and I'm using Stairway to Heaven as an example. And I have to train my voice, but I can't. I could sing the melody, but I can't sing the timing of the melody. Or my pitch is a little bit off as well as my rhythm. So what I'm going to do, as my looped rhythm is playing, and I know what the melody is, now I'm going to sing to that pitch and to that rhythm. Da, 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 da. Horrible voice, right? That's why I don't sing. I don't like the way I sound when I talk. Singing ain't going to happen in my future. I'm improvising on that, but it's the point is it's a way to train your voice. Jimi Hendrix did that when he was playing Voodoo Child. George Benson has done that on a lot of his recordings, Breezing or This Masquerade. And I'm not saying that they cannot sing, but it helped them as a guide, and maybe it's something they chose. But I could see it as something that could help a person. So it's just something to consider. You don't have to do it, but it's just something to think about. Yesterday, when I was teaching my students, this is great because I could see they're having issues. And when you're starting out, or if you're gonna restart, life gets in the way, and even if you have other interests, and that's just how it is. So when you're starting out and you're having a hard time, okay, you can't hold the big. See, when I'm teaching and I see people having a hard time, and I show them something like this. Let's have them show them a C major scale. Well, I could do that, but they can't. What's the problem? They don't know how to hold the pick. What's that? Okay. And I've done this so many times, way in the past doing this. So now when I switch left-handed, even though everything's upside down, let's say I want to do the same form. It's not going to be the same notes, same form. Wow. It is like, holy cow. Am I hitting the right string? Oh. You see what I mean? 100% beginner. Absolute no coordination. Now I understand what they're going through. I remember a friend of mine told me, Dave, if you learn how to play left-handed, then you'll be able to do both, if you practice it. I said, yeah, you're right. However, I really don't want to do that because this is keeping me humble when I'm teaching. Because now I'm worse. I can't even do anything. At least some of the students, they can do something. I can't even do anything. I'm 100% uncoordinated. Now I understand what they're going through. So now when I do this, it's more of me saying, yeah, I understand it. I've been there. Yeah, 50 years ago I've been there. But now right here, boy, forget it, man. It's all over. Done deal, man. Not happening in my future unless I put effort into it. But you see, sometimes when you're teaching, you have to show students the things you don't know how to do to help boost up their confidence. Because what's going to happen is they're going to say, hey, I could do something my teacher cannot do. And it makes them feel they have an upper edge. And for lack of better terminology. But the point is, it gives them that confidence that that's what they need. Otherwise, if I'm sitting there and I'm shredding right in front of them and I can't do that now, and I expect them, why can't you? I just started. I don't have the coordination. Duh. So, my approach is a lot different. I guess it's because being performing. That's really all I did. I taught, of course I taught. Had a lot of students. Have no degree in it. Got I got kind of lucky getting all those students because the Guitar Hero video game was real popular and everybody wanted to learn to play the guitar. But the second thing of it, they knew I could play, and I was out there playing. So they would ask me, "What's it like getting these gigs? What happens when this goes wrong?" Or I'm going to be playing next week. Could you kind of tell me what this place is like so I know what to expect? It's my first time playing. I'm kind of nervous. Or when we would have the recital, sometimes I'd sit with the students. I said, "Don't be nervous." I said, "Everyone gets nervous." I said, "You know what you're nervous for? You're going to make a mistake and everyone's going to laugh at you. Trust me, no one's going to laugh at you and you'll make a mistake. I make mistakes. And if they laugh at you, there's going to be very few people that's going to do that. And for those who do that, you'll never see them get up on that stage and do anything because they're deathly afraid. That's why they're laughing. They got to have something to amuse them or something themselves or something. I don't know. But never be afraid. You're good. It's only natural to be nervous. We all go through that. It's just the way it is. But always remember, it's not making the mistakes. It's recovering from the mistakes. It's making it like there's not even a mistake there. The people who know the piece of music, yeah, they're going to say it was a mistake. However, the honest people say, you know what? Yeah, you made a mistake, but you recovered from it. The show went on. I had a great time. If you stop, oh, wait a minute, you're playing with something. Wait a minute, that's not how it goes, man. You missed this part, dude. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did, man. Now there's a conflict going on, and everyone's watching. It's like, oh, maybe we're gonna watch like a hockey game. It'll be like a fight there. Oh, this could be even better than a performance. Put the guitars down, and then put the boxing gloves on. Let's watch this one. Don't draw that attention to. I made a mistake. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. Well, then why'd we hire you, man? Think what those people are going to be, especially people who are hiring you. Look, you're gonna run into rude people no matter where you go, no matter what you do. That's part of life. It's how you handle it. I've been there, man. My temper's been real short. You get a short fuse, and boy, and they'll probably kick the crap out of me. But boy, I'll get my point in anyway, man. I don't care. But as you get older, you're like, it ain't worth it, man. Because tomorrow should be another day. I'm going to be moving forward. Who cares? So, just something to think about, guys. Look at that. I pulled this up and I got this little like green dot pop up. See? So, but yeah. So, I know I'm repeating myself here. Here, I'm going to play something on the classical guitar here. I got this. I recorded this. I recorded the second time I did this on my Zoom camera. But the first time I did this, Deb seemed like, wow, that sounds so pretty. She said, you know what? That, like, draws you in. And it was nice because the hotel, and we had, where our beds were, but they also had, like, a little loft area right there. So, and it had nice reverb. I wasn't plugged in. It had a natural nice acoustics. So I was doing this. Let's see if I don't mess this up. And I played that. I played that piece the second night. And it went over real well. I really do like that kind of music. So one of the 8-string guitars I was looking at is a classical wood cutaway 8-string. I just want to make sure the strings, the 2 bass strings will be easier to get. But from what I heard, it sounded beautiful. I like steel strings, but to me, I like the nylon string better because there's so much emotion I could put into these notes because of the tone. If you want a sharper tone, obviously you just pluck toward the bridge. If you want a softer tone, you play toward the sound hole. Again. Yeah. So you just have that range of dynamics that I personally can only duplicate more on a nylon string than a steel string. I can do it on a steel string, but it still has the steel strings. And when it's plugged in, I gotta really roll down the tone. So, but anyways, guys and gals out there, I hope this live stream was helpful there. Again, showing you the difference, what I could do with the 7-string using these effect pedals in combination with each other is like opening up another door. And I'm definitely gonna invest some time on building that style up as well, and just adding it in part of my shows, so I have more of a variety. It's just not the same. And then I also have the cover songs I'm going to be working with Ray. So again, our next live stream will be next Saturday, and next Sunday. And I will be using the 7-string with this setup as well as my usual setup. So, again, thank you so much for anyone celebrating their birthday. Happy birthday out there. Again, to my student yesterday, Sean. Happy birthday, my friend. And keep us posted for more lessons. And we'll help you get to where you really want to get to. Until then, my friends, keep on creating. Stay creative. Rock on. And God bless you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. And happy Memorial Day. And remember those who gave everything, sacrificed everything for all of us. God bless them. And God bless you.